Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine Podcast. We're hosted on Anchor.fm and streamed worldwide on all the major podcasting platforms. Nick, Andrew, and Tristan are back in the same room once again after a little bit of a false start. We're back in person after, what would it be now, 87 months?
I guess, well, listen, it wasn't a false start. Some of us had business to do.
Business.
Things, places to be, people to see.
We're business people of the world now.
That's true. We're professionals.
Men of the world.
Or at least the immediate region.
Men of the region.
Well, that would be, you got to get the BMW when you're in the immediate region. Then you step up to, well, I guess you get the bigger BMW, the 7 Series or whatever when you're...
Yeah, or the SUV.
Yeah, the SUV, right.
Right.
The X7.
That makes you the more worldly.
Correct, yes.
That's when you step out
German,
of...
you see.
Yes, that's when you step out of regionality. Mm-hmm. Speaking of men of the world, Tristan just had a fantastic... He survived. He took the coin flip and he...
Took the coin flip? Oh, Lord.
God, it makes it sound worse than I even thought it was.
He survived the Bermuda Triangle.
That's right. I forgot. We were sending you into the 1990s horror zone.
Yes, along with all the quicksand and candy from strangers. But no, it was a fabulous time.
Your cruise is what we're talking about.
Yes, the cruise on the Norwegian Pearl was a great time. Much needed time away. Haven't had a lot of that since right after my wedding last fall. So it's been good to get out a little bit and see some, in this case, other countries, not just other places. So yes, man of the world is the title that suits me today.
Awesome, man.
How are people acting on the cruise? Because, we were on our cruise, it was pre-COVID, and everyone was like very... It's kind of weird, because it seems like people who go on cruises do that like as their main source of entertainment. There's like a class of people who only cruise or constantly seem to be on various boats. And those people are like weirdly... not necessarily touchy, but like weirdly welcoming, and it's just sort of like that makes me cringe.
Overly friendly.
They were overly friendly,
okay, right,
but the physical friendliness was distinctly less.
Sure. Standing
apart a little ways, and no handshaking and that kind of thing.
That's good.
No, overall, again, don't want to bring too much into it, but no matter how you feel about the pandemic being over or not, the cruise ships are still being very, very cautious about it, which for me personally was welcome. Managed to come back without it when people are traveling, just within the state and coming back with it right now. So glad to have gotten away with 2 plane trips and a cruise and not gotten it. So whatever reason that might be, whether it's, the stomach flu, a regular head cold, COVID, who wants to be sick, right? So glad I didn't come back sick in any way from this trip, and especially didn't need COVID again. So
big true.
So all in all, though, fun time. Any cool car stuff? We are a car podcast. We're not a vacation podcast.
It's interesting, the market there, because it's a British overseas territory, which is just the modern term for a colony, more or less.
Bermuda, you're talking about.
Yeah, Bermuda. Sorry, did I say Bahamas?
I don't know. I wasn't.
I don't know.
Listening for that detail.
But maybe I didn't say the place at all.
I don't think you did.
But we traveled to Bermuda. That's the Bermuda Triangle jokes. And being a British overseas territory, they drive on the other side of the road from us. The left-hand side, right-hand side, correct side argument. I won't hear any of it. It's just the other side of the road.
It works either way.
Yeah,
so
cars work. It's fine. But it's interesting because that means that they have very few markets to pull natively right-hand drive vehicles from.
Right.
Basically being Australia, Japan, and Britain / the rest of Europe that feeds Britain, and the rest of Asia that feeds Britain and Japan. So really, when you're walking or driving around, it feels like you're driving around in Europe.
Sure, tropical Europe.
Tropical Europe is really kind of what it is. And you don't see a lot of pickup trucks. There were a few of them, and they were all left-hand drive American imported models, dealing with driving on the other side of the road. Mm-hmm. But a lot of those, like cab over Mitsubishi Fuso, like workman trucks
Of course.
Super popular. That was kind of their heavy lifters, and then it's all a bunch of European models. The one that was super popular was would have made you happy, Andrew. Was the Kia Picanto.
That's what they're.
It's like a tiny hatchback.
No, it might be smaller. I think it's smaller,
yeah,
or no,
but it's quite small. And there are a zillion of them.
I'm sure they're very cheap. There's
not a lot of room on that island, so you need to as many small cars as you can.
Yeah, and so an interesting side effect, Nick, you mentioned like it's an island, there's not a lot of space, is that every address that is like a stated residence gets one car. So
one per household, basically.
Yeah, so like but regardless of, like, let's say you guys lived here with me and there were 3 families here, still only one car.
Gotcha.
Because it's by physical address. So there are cars there, plenty of them. They're all over the place, but with a lot of countries, dominated by bikes.
Right.
Both motor and otherwise. So a lot of scooters, a lot of cars that qualify as motorcycles because they've got 3 wheels or are small enough to not classify as cars.
Now, is that what you drove?
We did not end up driving.
I thought you had a rental lined up.
We did. However, there were horror stories about all sorts of impropriety regarding credit card numbers and things of that nature. So I was like, you know what? We're going to cancel this and just deal with public transportation, which I thought would be a real struggle. It's not a big metropolitan city. Like, I had a great time on public transportation in Tokyo because everything's on time and everything. There are a million trains and a million buses and everything else. But I was like, I don't know, that joke about island time, where, it isn't necessarily a joke. We went to a town and like nothing opens before 10 a.m. So it's like, what is the public transportation going to be like? Shouldn't have worried about it at all.
Yeah.
The buses are exactly on time. They come like every 10 minutes. And being a little island, they really only go 2 places.
Sure.
Well, 2 directions. They either go towards the main city or away from the main city in either direction because the main city's in the middle.
Sure.
So super easy to navigate, super timely, friendly for tourists. Just tell them, hey, I don't know where I'm going, but I got to get off at this place. Tell me when to get off. And the bus driver will be like, hey, this is your stop. Get off. So super friendly. Obviously, everybody speaks English, being a British overseas territory, so language isn't an issue. You just ask the bus driver. So
overseas territory. I did not know that they had that nifty little Dodge there.
Yeah.
Yes, not a colony. Definitely not a colony. But
That's funny.
But yeah, so
What was like the nicest truck that you saw while you were there?
they had all sorts of stuff. Just like any brand you like, choose the smallest one. So like there was like a Cayman. I saw a Cayman.
McLaren.
Yeah, right. I saw a Cayman. There were
570?
a fair number of BMWs. One of those little, I hate to say it this way, but one of those little compressor Mercedes that almost looked like a CRX.
Oh yeah.
I like those.
Yeah,
I really like those.
So like there were nice cars there. No mistake. It wasn't that, Bermuda is not a poor country, due to various reasons, proximity to the United States, in their history being an important trading stop to the United States. They've put in place a lot of beneficial tax laws to draw people from the United States. So there's a lot of money that, like, per capita, the GDP is huge. The
Right.
average cost of a home is $1 million.
Sure.
Whoa.
Gas costs $10 a gallon, and they went, it's starting to get expensive. So like,
Wow.
it's a different. They peg their dollar to the U.S. dollar, so everything translates directly. But it's an entirely different mindset as far as how much stuff costs. Like our tour guide got paid $25, $26, $27 an hour plus tips because she lives in an apartment that she has to pay $3,500 a month for.
Oof.
So, like, all the numbers are just higher, but everybody can afford stuff. So
That's kind of weird.
it's interesting. But
yeah.
so you see a lot of cars around, but you can know that those really expensive cars are really expensive there.
Eye-poppingly so.
Yeah. So, but it's a good time. Glad to be back. It's always tough to end a vacation, but managed to come back at just the right time when, you know, Wisconsin is at its best, before it gets super, super hot and awful. So
Right. So did you guys do the recovery day before going back to work, like the vacation from the vacation?
yeah, we scheduled our return date to be July 1st. Then we came back directly to the 4th of July holiday weekend, and got 3 days off when we came back.
Wow. I mean, that's just expert level. Boss level.
Next tier.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm starting to do that more with my vacations now. Like, I used to not
It's the
worry
sign
about
of
it.
being old.
Yeah, I it's got to be. Like, I used to not worry about it. Yeah, I got to work on Monday morning. Yeah, we'll schedule a flight to land at 11:58 on Sunday night.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like, that's how it used to be, just so I can get the most out of the vacation. Now it's like, nah, I'll leave a day early.
Don't go to sleep and then just work the next day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You gotta get home a day early. I'm a big proponent of being at home generally, but
Just don't leave. They have to worry about it.
Hand your solution. Never travel.
yeah, absolutely.
So, glad to have you back. Glad to be back here. You would have thought if 2 weeks we could have figured out something to talk about. Does anybody have any burning topics that we want to cover in the world of cars,
No,
motorsports?
because it's just all bad news, right?
Basically.
gas is expensive.
Though coming back down.
True.
It is starting to tip a little bit.
I filled up for $4.20 at Costco.
Well, there you go.
Just
Not bad.
nice number. And I just
Nice.
I don't know. No one wants to talk about that. Racing's been okay. We did have double victories at the IMSA race last weekend,
We
did.
which was exciting.
That was very, very cool.
Eversley won. What were we talking about? Eversley won, and
Third.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Double podiums.
Double podiums.
Double
right,
podiums.
correct, yeah, double podiums. Eversley won, and Murillo Racing Run is. They actually did.
Murillo got one, too.
They were
1-2.
1-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With their cars, which was incredible, and then Eversley came in on the podium as well, which is great. I mean, obviously, we love to see the success.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sent him a picture of so their race was Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
So I sent him a picture of a beer on Sunday. Like, cheers to the podium. So,
Have this beer.
have this beer. Enjoy this beer, and I am enjoying this beer on your behalf in celebration of you.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of rotten luck with that car. Like, the pace hasn't been tip top, but they've been in the mix, and then had Mid Ohio had a pit penalty, and then one of the other races they got an improper wave around, which apparently. If you don't do the wave around right, IMSA literally throws a spear through your heart. It's stop and hold plus 4 minutes if you take an or something like that. If you take an improper wave around under yellow, if you do bypass before you're supposed to. And that's kind of down to a communication thing. So the team, I guess, brought it on themselves. But anyway, he's had some rotten luck.
I wonder if that's a new rule.
It's crazy. I don't know. I don't understand why it's so severe. I think it's
F1
because you make
has that rule.
because you make up a lap, so they
Yeah.
want to try to penalize
No, it's huge.
you that
Penalize,
lap back, and then
functionally-
another one,
Yeah.
basically.
Depending on
huge.
depending on where you are, it's going to be 2 laps.
Right.
So maybe more.
But moral of the story is that that team needed something to kind of fall their way, and with the way the yellows fell, they did a 2-stop strategy where a lot of people did 3.
Yeah.
So they were saving fuel a little bit, but keeping enough pace where they could make it work, and they ended up with a podium. So good momentum. They're at Lime Rock next weekend, and then something we got to talk about. They're at Road America after that.
Yep.
So we got to talk about our weekend up there.
I still really want to go to Lime Rock
So
at some point.
some point.
Fun.
Yeah, it sounds like just a blast of a track, but it's a hell of a travel. I don't think we can road trip that one.
I wasn't it.
It was 15 hours, 16 hours.
Yeah.
My sister's house is 15 hours. I drive it in a day. fine.
Yeah, I remember it being not. I want to say an hour longer than VIR actually.
Yeah.
'Cause that's going.
We got
south.
3 drivers. 5-hour stints are nothing.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I guess we could figure it out maybe next year. But Road America is this year.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
next
I mean,
month. We've got to figure that shit out
That's
quick.
super close. True. We'll figure that one out.
I mean, we can go maybe get our third IMSA Spirit of the Race award.
If the weather's horrible, are you saying you're rooting for horrible weather?
Well, I mean, how many people? Let's call Guinness. How many people have won that thing 3 times?
That's true.
Like, we could make
Triple
history.
Crown, yeah,
Greatest number of IMSA Spirit of the Race award winners held by a 3-man podcast team.
that's true. But
Those
remember,
oddly specific Guinness records that people
it's
do.
Guinness, you have to do it twice, which means we'd have to win it 6 times to get 3, right?
Does it have to be twice?
I don't know. I think for some things it
Do you have to
does.
prove it?
That-
like,
that-
does Guinness?
that's land, that's land speed records. You got to go
Yeah,
both
no,
directions.
yeah, it's-
Yeah, I was gonna say, does Guinness just say prove it, do it again? Before?
Don't believe you. I just saw you do it. Do it again.
I think it's for some things, and then it's like, yeah, but I think it's for timed things.
Yeah,
A lot of them
land
don't
speed
just take the
records
average.
for cars and motorcycles and stuff are for sure upwind and downwind. You got to do it both directions, and they take the average.
Yeah.
So
Hey, look, if it's on if we're gonna be up there for 3 days, and Friday qualifying day, anytime when Hindhoff is on the microphone, if qualifying is an absolute monsoon and he throws out an IMSA Spirit Award and we're there,
there's
that
a good
counts.
chance.
Absolutely.
And then we still have
course it
hopefully a good Saturday and Sunday of good racing action. So
Doesn't
there
have to
you
hope for a terrible race day.
go. Yeah, and yeah, you can hope for a terrible qualifying day. That's fine.
Those are fun.
Yeah, those
Because
are
then
fun.
race days are all over the place because no one was qualifying the way they were going to race.
And also, the best show of the weekend, the Pilot Challenge, for this year got switched to the endurance round. So Michelin Pilot Challenge at Road America is 4 hours instead of 2.
Oh, that's right.
It was normally 4 at Watkins Glen, not no more.
That's cool.
So we get more Pilot Challenge.
So, I mean, Pilot Challenge has been the best race. Not only, it's not, the opinion is shifting. I am becoming more correct. Has been the best race at Road America for a couple of years now, and I don't know what that looks like doubled.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, the weather helped at Watkins Glen when we were there, but that 4-hour race was really good.
That's true. That was really, really
Yeah.
good.
The weather helped it, though, so we'll see. But Pilot Challenge is the best racing in IMSA.
Yeah.
It's
Been incredibly,
awesome.
even. And
Yeah, it's
one of the best
it's
series out there.
competitive,
Like,
it's fast, it's interesting because the cars and everything else.
cars are a little bit more attainable.
And the people. Like,
Yeah.
you know, our favorite people for the most part.
Run that
they
series.
all race in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives us something to root for outside
Yeah.
of Telitz,
Yep.
who stepped up to the big leagues.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he was must be through his relationship with Gazoo Racing or whatever, Toyota Lexus.
Sure.
He got called to run a Supra GT4 in World Challenge.
Yeah, I saw something about
A couple,
that. Yeah.
like back at it was like a pro-am thing. So like
Yeah, on his
the am
Twitter.
driver wasn't. I mean, different level, right? And he got in, and I was watching it, and he was slinging that Supra. Like, he made up, 15 positions in his stint. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
That's
It
the
must have
kind
been
of stuff
so much fun for him.
Well, that's the kind of stuff you see too when you're doing pro-am racing. Like, we talk about like pit strategies and everything else, but there's also, you know, driver strategies. It's like, when do you leap out far ahead with your pro driver and then hope your am driver can hold enough positions that you're in good shape, or do you kind of have the pros run the anchor and try to run everybody down at the end?
I feel like
and
that's more fun.
I think it's a little more straightforward in the 2-hour races. Like, hey, start with the am, do your minimum 40
Yep.
minutes, and then throw the pro in and just
For an hour and 20.
and go nuts.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
with a 4-hour, like, you can't.
You're
Like,
gonna-
the am needs more time.
Right, each of
minimum
them are
drive
going to
time.
have to probably do at least 2 stints. At least.
Thanks.
Or at least I think an hour 15 is a minimum now instead of 40. So like, do you switch drivers at every pit stop, or do you just leave the am in for a double stint at the start, or like, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
So
So that kind of stuff is exciting with that type of racing too.
so I'm definitely looking forward to that in about 3 weeks time now.
Yeah. Plus fast Hyundais. You know, I love that.
Yeah.
Andrew, lover of fast Hyundais.
True. Speaking of which,
Speaking of-
mine is back. Actually, my Hyundai is back from a ruined transmission. I don't know what the problem is. I guess so when I took it in, it was leaking a mysterious clear fluid. They said, "Is it water?" And I said, "Stop it!"
It's not water.
But
Well, it doesn't matter what type of fluid it is. It shouldn't be leaking anyway.
Well, no, because it's summer and people.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the air conditioning, sir?
The heat sweats.
Yeah, exactly. No, so I took it in. I think I already told this on the podcast. They just said when they've told me what the problem was, they're like, hey, we don't have a timeline for parts and we don't have a timeline for the fix. So here's a rental car. And I put a solid 3,000 miles on that rental car. It was approaching the need for an oil change. And
that was a Nissan, right?
Yeah, on a Nissan Altima. And
I love doing that to rental cars. That was that one. I think I posted Instagram pictures when I went down to like drop off my mom, drop off my sister, and then drove home. And it was like 2,800 miles in like 4 days or something. The rental car company goes, what did you do?
It feels great. Someone else's car. You don't care. I was gonna say, oh yeah, so they called me last Thursday and they're like, hey, we're working on your car. It's almost done. I said, oh, that's great.
Nice.
Thank you. So yeah, they put a whole new transmission in the car and it is noticeably different from the transmission that I got the car with.
Huh. That's interesting.
And more responsive?
Yes, more responsive. And I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast. I feel like I mentioned it once. The only thing that was weird about my car, and I just figured it was down to ECU or TCU mapping.
Yeah.
In third gear, if you put the pedal down, you could hear it hit like an edge where the revs would drop, and then they'd go back up. If you were hammered on the pedal in third gear.
A little hesitation.
It doesn't do that anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm still waiting on the information from Subaru on my recall for mine.
Right, I forgot about that.
Which is interesting because they're like, yeah, there's not a problem until there's a problem, so drive it until you're dead. Like it's a really weird thing. It's like the recall is, it can cause, sudden loss of power and it's dangerous, but we don't have a fix yet, so continue driving your vehicle. It's like so
okay.
And then then the repair is up to and including replacing the entire CVT, but they're trying to get a fix in place to reprogram the TCU to more aggressively engage the clutch.
Sure.
It's the clutch is slipping, which can cause the chain or whatever's inside to break. And they're like, well, we'll see if there's wear on the guide path, then we'll replace your transmission. If there's not, then the reprogramming should fix it.
I don't think I'll obviously never hear what was actually wrong with my transmission, but I am kind of
I'm curious. Yeah, at least I'll know what's wrong with mine.
Hindsight, I think, just looking at like the size of the patch that's underneath where I parked my car, it probably was leaking since I bought it. In like just a tiny minuscule amount that just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
For sure.
You could actually notice it.
Well, and I wonder then too, if you're leaking fluid, a lot of times those DCTs, DSGs, everything else, they're very reliant on their fluid.
Right.
And if you're low, it might not cause an issue, but it could like cause undue wear.
And
that's why they're
wasn't
like
low, but it may not have been. I mean, it may have just been squeezing out. In the actual and not properly lubricating in the actual unit.
Exactly. So I'm curious if they opened it and were like, "Whew, nope, this thing's toast. Throw it away." They may have. Because it was low. I don't know.
He said no break-in, so I've been driving it like that.
Well, probably because it's been rebuilt. It's probably already broken in, probably.
That's true. What I will say is that the default TCU settings are so stupid. It shifts like a semi-truck. It's getting better, though. The one thing that's the weirdest thing, going back to my car, is the shocking difference in the things you get accustomed to in your car.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest one for me is definitely the screen, because in the Altima it was like that. It's vertical in the middle, perfectly flat, which is so dumb.
Yep.
And now that I've got the screen not sticking out of the console, but down in line with the top of the dash and angled towards me, it's like, oh, this makes all the sense in the world. Why would you ever put it in the middle up?
Yeah, like I get on mine
with a tablet.
Yeah.
Like I get it if it's in the middle and flat also.
Built in. Yes.
Because then you just move the steering wheel. You don't have to worry about putting in a different piece of technology to angle the screen towards the driver's side if you change countries. And being a Japanese car brand, I get that they take that into consideration probably pretty strongly. But yeah, when it's like stuck up on top like that, why not point it at the driver at the very least?
Something.
But
which is I don't like when the screen looks like it's not built in. I'm trying to think of other things that I really got accustomed to. The vastly superior push button keyless entry was on the Ultima. I have the touchpad on the Elantra. I fucking hate the touchpad. It never works. It's like a 6 out of 10 proposition on the best day. The button always worked. Why aren't we using the button?
What problem does the touchpad solve that the button wasn't accomplishing?
When you say like touchpad, like just like capacitive,
Yeah,
like it's not like numbers.
area.
It's just you touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's mine's got that where like when you loop your hand inside the pole, the capacitive part is on the inside of the handle, and as soon as you close on it, it unlocks and you can open it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't any problems with that.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know what it is. It's really weird, and Meg has the same problem in her car. It's the same
System.
useless feature. It just doesn't work. Stop this. Bring back the button.
Hashtag bring back the button.
Yeah, what else? I don't know. I think I can see a lot better out of the Elantra than in the Ultima, because I think there's like so much nose on the Ultima, you know what I mean? It feels like you're looking
Down like a ski slope.
down a dog nose is what I was
Dog
saying.
nose.
And so everything's like a little more compressed, and I realized how much more light is in the Elantra. Also, how much smaller it is. I didn't think I'd realize that, but after going with I guess it's a mid-size car, isn't
Yes.
it? Back to the compact, which is the size of a mid-size car from when we were kids. You can definitely see the difference.
That's crazy.
But it was only 3-ish weeks, almost 4.
1,000
funny.
miles a week though. That's getting around.
It's funny when you talk about going back to your car too. Like when we were on vacation, I didn't drive anything, and you always feel like, oh, am I gonna forget how to drive?
No, I've never felt
And then
that.
you get home and it's like, oh, this is fine.
I've never felt there is like a getting used to process, kind of like what you were just talking about. Like the instruments are here. Like when I haven't done like a vacation where I've rented a car lately, but like work travel, right? You rent a car at the airport, go see whatever vendor you need to go see, and then like they're not renting stick shifts at Thrifty.
Yes.
So like I get back into the Focus at the airport parking garage, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Like
How do I drive this?
That pedal.
Yep, okay. And it takes me like to like get down the spirally ramp and like out to where you actually pay, where it's like, okay.
Yeah, the manual thing is real. The first, especially if you haven't done it in a while, the first hill start.
Yeah.
Little mini heart attack there.
Whee! You just rev it way up, even though mine does have hill start assist, but still.
But it's a mental thing.
Oh, yes.
Actually, I feel like hill start assist makes it harder for me, just because I never ever had it in any car, and so it like gives me a mini heart attack. It's like it's not rolling back.
And they call it different things. So what does yours do for like hill start assist?
What does it do?
Yeah.
Probably holds the e-brake. I think most of them
It just holds the e-brake.
Okay,
in.
'cause-
So it
because I
just
know-
doesn't allow it to roll backwards.
Because I know,
Like it'll die.
like on a first generation Focus that I was driving that was manual, or second generation Focus, like they had like an anti-stall.
Yes.
Where like if you're not giving it enough gas, it will give it more gas until you get it into first gear.
Yeah, that
And
Ford anti-stall was really bizarre.
it's aggressive.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still don't actually know how it works. Is it seems like it's the only thing I can compare it to is the start off in traffic in this DCT, where it gets right on the edge of lugging the engine and then like bops it up more than you think it should.
Yeah.
So you're just like I don't actually know how the Ford
Yeah.
anti-stall.
So I was wondering if yours still did that, or if it was like, because I know being an ST, there's probably less of that skullduggery going on. It's probably just a much more regular manual transmission. But
No, I've had a hill kill before. It didn't roll backwards, but the engine did shut off.
yeah. My WRX had the hill hold. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually killed it more in drive-throughs than I have in like on a hill.
Well, you don't think
Oddly
about
enough.
stuff.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't think about it.
You got you
Yeah.
got food getting launched at you through the window, and you got to keep the cup, keep the cup from spilling, and get it down in the thing, and then you just crap.
And then there's the whole new inadvisable world of eating while driving a manual transmission car.
It's really something. It's, that
No, I
is
definitely make sure I am sixth gear on highway, like ready to put in cruise control before I even think about it.
If your transmission is good enough, and even my WRX one was, you can get it with 2 fingers. So you can get the burger here, and then
It's a chicken tender. It's not a burger. I know you.
It could be that too.
I went burger left hand.
I'm too fat to reach across myself.
No. And then you do everything with your right hand. Right?
Oh, okay.
Burger left hand.
Knee steer.
Yep.
See, I can't do that either.
Yeah.
My legs are too short for that.
Well, I had to adjust my steering. I don't like where that position.
I've never been able to steer with my knees.
My dad
never
taught me
once.
that.
Yeah.
That's how he used to do it.
Yeah. No, mine's the wheel in the left hand, feet doing their thing, and then with the left hand, like let's say it is a chicken tender. Left hand on the wheel is holding the sauce cup.
Oh, God,
right hand,
damn sauce cup.
Right hand is holding the tender with just the index and the thumb, and your rest of your hand is using the gear shift.
You should go to our concept engineering team and have them draw up a
sauce gimbal,
like a gyro sauce gimbal.
It has to be.
It is. They're on Amazon, but they're not as cool as the one I wanted to make.
Have the concept engineers
They're not
drawing
like
up for you.
machined aluminum.
Billet aluminum.
Yeah. But
Anodized check engine podcast orange.
Yeah.
that'd be sweet.
I'd love it.
Have Steve sell that for us in a pop-up store.
Tristan sauce gimbal.
TM.
You want to make sure that it's machined well, but loose enough so it does wiggle a little bit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to know that it's balanced.
So that as you whip the wheel around, there's no resistance. It stays right side up.
Exactly.
Counterweight at the bottom. Yeah, the whole deal. Because the sauce cup itself isn't heavy enough to stop it to keep it spinning freely. So
It's like a $73 gimbal.
yeah, exactly.
But
How priceless is not spilling barbecue
Exactly.
sauce on your pants?
what is the value of
Just put
your
the-
car interior?
Or even your own pants.
Whatever. I'm not going to get into that argument. But we got off on a tangent there. So good Hyundai news.
Yes.
You got
Yeah,
yours.
good Hyundai news, good
There's
racing
also
news.
some bad Hyundai news.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure
Hyundai has announced that this is the last model year for the Veloster N.
yeah, I mean, we all knew that it was going that way.
Really?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, once they moved it into other lines, then I think that was kind of the writing on the wall for the Veloster end specifically, because they did it on the Veloster because it was low risk.
Yes.
It was like, well, the Veloster's kind of weird. People love it, but they're like dedicated to it. So even if this is kind of it'll still be okay. But now they're putting it on like the Kona and the Elantra, which are
Kona,
like
Elantra, which is fine.
core demographics for them.
Exactly.
That's fine,
it's
but
like-
keep the Veloster.
No,
I think it's just resources.
it was always going to go, because what you got to remember is that car was only sold here. It wasn't an international model.
Yeah, the Elantra N was
Cool.
international.
But that opens the door for the they won't bring it here, but the what is the Euro version of the I totally
Yeah,
just
it's
forgot what the heck
the
it's called.
Hyundai
Yeah, the
i30?
i30.
30 or
i30N?
40? No, i30. Yeah,
i30N.
i30N, which again they also won't bring here because we get the Elantra, which is also only sold here.
Right.
But it was essentially in the middle of those two, and obviously they're just going to do that. But I also think it goes along. I'm a big narrative guy. I'm always wondering about what narrative.
What's the story, Wishbone?
Kind of. And the evolution has always been really weird, right? When Hyundai brought the Veloster out, it was like, I was like, oh, no one wants this. It's just weird and it doesn't drive that well. So they're like, okay, and they bring out a performance version. Like, oh, well, no one wants this. It doesn't have enough power. And then the SI comes out with the same horsepower, and they're like, well, it still has 3 doors. And it's like, okay, got it. And then they put the N out, and they're like, this is pretty good. And some people loved it. And some people were like, well, this is pretty good. And they bring the Elantra N, going all the way back to when they first released the Veloster. And now people are saying, like, oh, this is a real performance car. It's like, well, was it not in the previous 2 iterations? Just wasn't exactly what you thought it would be. So,
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing with the Elantra N. People are like, oh, now this is a real car. It's like, okay,
This is pod racing.
okay, guys, we got it.
I just feel like we're back on the downslope of the hatchback wave, because you had Veloster and the Focus was there, and the Civic Type R, not really a hatchback. It's kind of a weird one, I guess you can call it a hatchback.
What is the
Liftback.
term?
Liftback, whatever it is. But the new Civic doesn't look anything like that. It's not going to be that. Focus isn't even being made anymore. Now the Veloster's dead. You do have the GR Supra or the Corolla.
Yeah.
That was announced, but other than that, there's GTI.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be a wave, right? We're gonna get a dip, and then in about 3-4 years, someone's gonna announce a hot hatch. But watch Bring a Trailer. See what happens with those Velosters.
No,
I'm just saying.
That's such a bummer to me because I that's still a car I really, really want to own.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. And
I think we all do. That's why I said it's bad news. Like,
it's a bit of
maybe
a bummer.
you saw it coming. I was kind of blindsided by the headline when I saw it.
I just expected it. The one thing that I'm curious to see is where they do their innovation, because essentially they had the Veloster for
Trying the new shit.
Yeah, basically a
decade
low risk test bed.
a decade or decade plus, I think, essentially. And now that's gone. I mean, the DCT came from there. The 1.6 liter performance engine came from there.
Didn't they have that hybrid or electric one that they were testing out too, like a race car?
Yeah, they also had that as the shell for their joint venture with one of those Swedish hypercar companies. I forget exactly what it was. It's them or anyways. So that was also the shell for that. But I mean, they're just going to push into the Elantra, and hopefully that becomes kind of a weird thing. I feel like you want a car company out there making weird shit. Honestly, I think it might not be Hyundai. I think it's going to be Kia.
It's going to be the next...
I think they're just going to keep doing it as they have been. I mean, they have the Kia Soul with the 201 horsepower engine. They have the K5, which is a little bit odd in that you can have your all-wheel drive with the Kona engine, or you can have what's in that GT?
Oh,
I think it's a different mapping.
my mom has that one. I should know this.
I think it's a different mapping of the N engine. I think it's that 2.5 liter.
Yes. Yes. I think you're right.
Yeah. So I mean, they're just doing weird stuff, and all the stuff they did with the Stinger, and now they have the great looking EV that the 6. What is it called? The new
EV6.
It is just the EV6.
I saw one.
Did you?
Oh, it looks awesome.
It looks sick on the road.
It looks so much better on the road than even on the commercial.
Damn it.
Like, for as crappy as the Hyundai looks,
yeah.
Like, we actually just saw that one leaving the church parking lot this morning, and I just kind of bumped Claire on the shoulder. I'm like, look, there's that stackable washer dryer again. For as bad as that one looks, God, the EV6 looks good.
That's gonna make it hard. I mean, yeah, it looks fabulous in the commercials. I can't wait to see one. But yeah, I think Kia is going to keep doing weird stuff, and I just hope that Hyundai does at some level too, because that's always been the unique party piece, and it would be kind of a bummer to see that go away. I've also heard that the Sonata is going away, which is a little bit of a bummer, because I don't think it was realized or appreciated how fast the Sonata N-Line is. It's one of the fastest front-wheel drive sedans made.
Yeah,
it's fast as shit.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, that dude in the EV6, like, I was shamelessly staring at it. Like, it was an intersection, and we were red, they were green coming across, and I just followed it all the way across. And he knew, and he looked at me and was following me as he drove all the way through. And I didn't even care. I'm like, yep, I'm looking. That is awesome.
Me. I'm looking.
What are you going to do about it?
That's awesome. Oh man, that's just fun.
I have seen, talking about electric vehicles that we've seen, I have seen more of the Rivians around.
They're starting to come out of the woodwork
in like the past 2 weeks since I got back.
I've still only seen that one, the green one.
God, I've seen like 8 of them. They're everywhere.
I've not been paying attention lately. You know, it's so weird. So I took, one road trip up to northern Wisconsin and then one all the way out to Nebraska, and I saw no cool or interesting cars on either trip.
I saw an Aston Martin on the way here today, the Superleggera.
Oh, man.
Yes, I saw
the white one.
The Aston Martin. Oh, hold on a second. Keep talking.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is BS. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you get into Nebraska or into Iowa, really, and you just see nothing but a fleet of Dodge Chargers and Dodge Challengers, and it's so like...
And pickups.
Well, you got those everywhere. It's just so blah. It doesn't do anything for me. Oh, you got the green one. Fucking amazing. Like, I'm just so over those.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in a significant minority there. I feel like people are still maybe not lusting after, but still looking at those as a desirable object, and they haven't been even remotely updated in like 10 years now. It's just like, stop.
Yeah. Yeah, we were driving here, and there was a white Superleggera coming at us, and I'm just like, oh. And Claire just saw the wings, like the wings on the emblem, and she's like, that's a Genesis? I'm like, oh, no.
No.
I'm like, dear, that is James Bond's car. That is an Aston.
It is a bummer that's on nothing cool. That sucks.
So I saw something I thought would be cool, and I've seen it in
On further review.
I've seen it like in print. The new Aston Martin SUV.
Yes, the Ford.
The DBX 707.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is it ugly?
Where did you see one?
Oh, I saw it at the airport.
Really?
Yeah, they were in front of us when we were like being picked up from the airport. It was horrible. Horrible. And I don't know if that was just like a color choice.
Was it the rust color that you had?
No, it was black.
Yeah.
And I think that that highlights, like, it's almost like it's a weird backward. No, sorry. It should have been black. My brain's getting ahead of me. It should have been black.
Sure.
It was like a gray.
Like that silvery Aston Martin gray they've been doing since
Yeah,
the
and all that does is highlight how high the plastic goes on the back of the vehicle.
Oh.
If it was all black, it would have been pretty good.
Interesting.
And the front looks like a regular Aston Martin, and the back looks like I don't know what. And it's jacked up too.
Yeah.
So like, obviously they didn't make it, but they didn't make it like BMW does or whatever. Where it's like clearly this was an intentional choice to build an SUV.
Uh-huh.
This looks like somebody took a weird hatchback Aston Martin we haven't seen before and put wheels and tires on it that were too big.
Sure.
Like the clearances between the wheel well and the tire didn't match how big the wheels and tires were.
Yeah.
Looks like someone crammed too big wheel and tire on this vehicle just to get it up off the ground without actually putting a lift kit on it. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. And I went, oh, that's that new Aston Martin. Ugh.
I haven't been super crazy about anything that's come out of Aston Martin for a couple of years now. I feel like they've lost the touch. I really do.
Yeah, I think their cars are fine.
That Super Leggera looked good coming at us today, though. I mean,
That's
outside
the
of the big mouth Billy Bass grill, but like, it was low. It wasn't stanced like when you think of stance, but the stance of it on the road. Oh
good.
man!
Sure.
And I think I would argue that they look good from the front. They all do. And then they drive past you, and some of them, the sides are good, but almost none of them is the back good. Like we make fun of like Corvette and stuff for not finishing the back of their cars.
Sure.
But at least, again, that almost seems intentional. Like, you know what? We'll just leave it that way. Versus Aston Martin, who seems to have put a lot of work into the back of their car, and it's terrible.
I can tell you tried, unfortunately.
You tried, which is worse. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Looking at them from the front and as they're coming towards you is way better than having them go past you. And you see them in the mirror and you're like, oh, an Aston Martin. Like, as they go past, and it's just, but this one in particular, I was like, who let that out the door?
I mean,
who let the dogs out?
Yeah, woof.
How would you feel if you're the guy who bought the ugly supercar? Would you think, would you be going around like, oh, people are just jealous. They're just jealous of my ass.
Yeah, and you're like,
it kind of sucks, dude.
They just don't get it.
they could never understand.
It's an Aston thing.
Yeah, maybe. Oh man, it's a Jersey thing. It's an Aston thing.
It's a Jeep thing.
It's a Jeep thing. Yeah, exactly. We had someone. I went to a graduation party yesterday. Preview of the shout out later at the end of the episode, but someone was talking to us there about how shitty the Grand Wagoneer is for $90,000. It was like, not the person that was telling me about it doesn't own it, but they knew someone who owned it, like a neighbor of theirs or a friend of theirs, and said that they've had it, like they had such a laundry list of issues, I can't even remember one of them. Like she threw them at me so fast, like I couldn't grab one of them. But the one number that stuck, like in the first 2 months they've had it, almost 30 days back at the dealership.
Oof.
For a $90,000 vehicle.
Also, there's like no new tech in that, right? It's not like they did they do new shit to it?
I mean, it's an entirely new platform.
Yeah.
So that's always an issue. Whether or not the engine and stuff is new. when your assembly guys have never built one before,
Yeah. Okay.
that's an issue. I mean, in my mind, I took a huge gamble buying this first gen XT, and it's maybe already bitten me in the butt if that wasn't an oil overfill and was just a manufacturing defect.
True.
Which, because they said, we don't know what's going to go wrong with these because they're new. When I took it there, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, cool.
Well, I mean, it's the same issue
You know,
with my car.
yeah.
First gen of that too.
But it's like, so you give them some slack for like, okay, it's new. I bought a first generation car because I wanted it that badly. I know it's going to be in the shop occasionally as they figure out the wrinkles. Like, nothing can prepare a car for millions of on-road miles as people actually buy it compared to testing it. Okay,
Right.
sure. I understand that. But yeah, if I bought a $90,000 Grand Wagoneer, I would want to own it. I wouldn't want to have the dealer own it as they as it's in the shop for 30 days. It's funny too. I don't know. I don't want to interrupt you. Do you have any more about that one?
The only thing I was going to say to close was that it is just one example. Like, I
Yeah.
haven't heard consistently, I haven't seen anything online about how shitty it is, but, like, that's, for as much as they're pushing it, that is not a very good first impression.
I have seen one of those on the road, and I gotta say, it reminded me exactly of the Lincoln Aviator.
Oh, yes.
Which you no longer see anywhere.
Yes.
There's not a one of those.
Well,
That was the only thing to finish my thought, so go ahead.
It's a shame too because like although the Jeeps were never for a long time like a luxury brand, you got the Grand Wagoneer and it was like the nice one you'd put your whole family in, but it was also like immensely capable. Like the Forest Service would buy them,
Right.
because it's like they're huge. They had the ambulance doors on the back. You could put a bunch of stuff in them. So it would kind of ran the gamut from utility vehicle to nice family car.
Land Cruiser,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah. And they did a really great job of that with the Grand Cherokee. You could get the base level Laredo and it would actually go off-road. It was relatively reliable. It wasn't safe, as we come to find out. But it was relatively reliable for a Jeep product. It was comfortable, it was spacious, it was well designed, and then they went and like just added to that. And by the end there, when they were looking at some of those like the Overland editions or the other ones that are like the super super premium ones, you were starting to get to be able to go head to head, or toe to toe, not head to toe.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
I guess, with some of the lower to medium trim Land Rovers and the big Lexus SUVs, and they were arguably better than like the Infiniti QX series and that kind of stuff. And they did a super good job of that. It's hard to find a luxury Grand Cherokee now because they're trying to push people into the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. And I think that's a shame. I think a lot of companies have multiple vehicles that have multiple trim levels, and that's okay. But I guess they're trying not to cannibalize sales or whatever. I don't know.
This is what happens when you spin off brands and have absolutely no need to do it. You just end up doing random stuff, kind of running around and creating little pockets of missed consumers. Basically, it's what it seems to me.
You try not to miss anyone, so you make a bunch of stuff that will inevitably then leave someone behind. Because it's like, oh well, what if I want something not as big as a Grand Wagoneer, but I want a really nice Jeep? You don't have one now, so they go buy something else.
You go buy an Acura.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. But because my parents are renting a Jeep right now, it just so happens, and I got to spend quite a bit of time in it yesterday, and it's super nice. Like it's one of the 7-seater 3-row configurations, where all that is they just include the seat in the back. They're not any larger or anything, but it's got like 210 volt outlets, like a bunch of USB-A ports, a bunch of USB-C ports, cameras, everything else, and it's like the rental car Laredo model, not anything extra. And my mom was like, yeah, you talk about getting, a nice Mercedes or another GT and, cruising around the country and that, but we could do that in one of these, right?
Probably could.
Sure.
And it brought me back to our land yacht episode, land yacht conversation.
Man, that was a lot. That
and
was
it was
like
year
one or
that's
two.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, that's an interesting thought where it's like, you just tall, easy to get into, comfortable, and full of amenities, cool. But I'm sad to see that a lot of those super high-end Grand Cherokees, even if they're not discontinued, I went to go look for one, and they're just hard to find. Wow. So whether they're discontinuing them or just not making as many because they want to push people to the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, I don't know. But
or it could be production. I mean, they could be sitting somewhere in where's Jeep made actually?
Oh, all over the place.
Yeah,
they could be sitting in all over the place waiting for.
They could be all over the place, all over the place.
Chips or something.
Yeah, massage seat
or
chips.
a hailstorm. Either way.
Yeah, waiting for a hailstorm.
Speaking of my car, though, the last thing I'll say about it now that I have it back, I am very glad to have it back. Of course, I definitely won't be driving it for long because I work in the south side of Milwaukee. So someone else will have stolen my car probably almost by the end of next week with absolute certainty. That's
unfortunate.
So I called my insurance company.
You can get a free club for the Milwaukee PD now.
Fuck off, Milwaukee PD.
That'll save them about 10 seconds.
But yeah, exactly. So I use a club. So anyways, I called my insurance company just to run through hey, now that I have my car back, what actually would happen were my car to get stolen or when my car gets stolen next week, and they ran the whole process. They have their own investigative team. They said, here, we'll do this. Here's how much you'd have to pay out of pocket. Here are your options for upgrading coverage, blah, blah, blah. And I got to say, I found it was really nice that they will do their own investigation because Milwaukee MPD will not. They don't give a fuck.
Nope. They got way bigger issues going on than...
I mean, do they, though? Because these kids are causing tons of problems. They're causing tons of damage. They're a public nuisance. There's a documentary about it on YouTube if you're curious.
Yeah.
Called Kia Boys. It's a citywide problem about which they do not give a fuck. They don't look for them. They don't look for the cars. They don't arrest these kids. They know where they're coming from. You can find a guy from YouTube went and found him with a cell phone camera. You can't fucking find these kids. Shut up. They don't do anything. MPD does not give a shit about your Kia or Hyundai being stolen. And you know what? Fine. Maybe they have two people working at any time and they have no way that they could possibly make an attempt to chase down or do any kind of work towards trying to suppress this issue. Let's say that's true. It's obviously on Hyundai and Kia for not putting friggin' immobilizers in their cars, which is such a stupid decision.
Yes.
And it just makes me wonder how many of those stupid manufacturers' decisions actually get through. And, there's never going to be a class action for this because it's not killing that many people. It's not killing no people. It's more just causing property damage. And it's just why is this a decision that was made? Why
I don't know.
do that?
I don't know. Property damage, if I've learned anything from the, number and kind of class action lawsuits that get brought and settled against Apple for, doing things that actually improve your phone experience, you can certainly argue that there's grounds for at least a settlement here.
That's true.
Even if they decide, even if no one decides to take it to court, there's certainly enough room to say, hey, you guys messed up and it's costing us money. You need to give me money.
We'll see what happens. It's so prevalent, and the whole thing is there are mad cities in this country.
Yes, many of them.
This
all
is
over
a huge
the place.
Problem in Milwaukee. That's the difference. They're getting stolen everywhere. It's a fucking epidemic in Milwaukee. Specifically, because the kids, they are literally. I'm not saying this tritely.
They are children.
Literally children. In that the day that MPS let out, the next day a kid was sitting in our lot too stupid to boost the actual car he just broke into. They are actual children. That is not exaggeration. This actually happened at work. And the cops don't care. But it's just you have to do something. You can't continue to do nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy that on my ride into work, I kind of bounce back and forth between a couple different morning shows on the radio, and one of them is ESPN radio, and the producer of the morning show that's on when I'm driving to work had his Kia stolen twice.
Yeah.
It was stolen, it was recovered, he got it back, and it was stolen again.
Yeah. So
out of his apartment complex.
I use a club. I don't think it matters.
You need to put an actual boot on it.
Well, I'm wondering, Tristan, because I have the push button start, I'm wondering if I take a screwdriver and just pop the USB port and just break it. Because there's a charging port. It's activated through the USB port. I'm wondering if I just take a screwdriver and just break the
data pin off.
Yeah, the pins out.
Yeah.
I'm debating it. Because that's how they boost those.
Yeah. I said put an actual boot on it.
Yeah.
If they know they can't drive it, then they won't bother to break into it, hopefully.
I'm thinking I could just snap the tongue off in the USB thing.
Or you can beat them to it and just put it up on blocks.
Yeah,
Just take the tires into work
take
with
all
you.
the tires off and just
It's not a bad option. But you know,
They make cordless impact drills, hint, hint, that could help you put tires on and off.
They do. I was thinking of what else I could do.
he's got 4 cinder blocks in the trunk everywhere he goes.
I was thinking like,
Hold on, let me put it in park.
I was trying to think of impermanent ways to do the same thing as breaking the USB port. I was thinking, get one of those. I have a bunch of those little Logitech things sitting around. Everyone does. Just get that and then tap the outside to break off the plastic thing. And you could pull out the
You'd have to get pliers and pull it out, and you could, but it would be probably not worth their time.
Exactly.
You'd still get a broken window, but that's easy to fix.
True. Yeah. Exactly.
Your car wouldn't be stolen and trashed and probably hit somebody.
Well, that's the thing. If they steal, that's the thing. They steal a Kia Soul, they're going to have a great time driving around the city. They steal my car, they're racing the shit out of the parking lot and probably immediately crashing it.
Yes.
It's not that it's the fastest car in the world, but it's going to go different.
And it's going to probably more than actual kids, are willing to be prepared for or ready to handle.
Exactly. So I don't know. I am seriously considering the Logitech thing. What I don't know is where the activation is in the head unit. Like, I don't know if it's detection for voltage on the port or if it's detection for actual entry into the port, and whether that'll screw things up with CarPlay.
Oh, speaking of CarPlay,
What?
I purchased a wireless CarPlay adapter.
Oh, that's right. You did, yeah.
I finally got a chance to use it. I told him that I told you when you were talking about the fact that wireless CarPlay was missing from the Nissan. I was like, well, that's just the way I live, but I'm curious about it, and it's not that much to get a wireless CarPlay adapter. It's a lot to get like a whole new head unit or something, but this plugs into the same USB port and everything, and then you pair it to the device, and then the device is the AirPlay destination for all the video, and then puts it on the car to do CarPlay. And it's this weird like Android box, but it identifies itself as CarPlay. When you plug it in before it's even connected to a phone, your car says, "Oh, hey, CarPlay." And you can open it up, and that's how you set it up. You can actually see it on your car screen to set it up.
Wow.
And it's a little slow to connect, but it's pretty reliable.
Well, wireless CarPlay is not always the fastest. It can be basically instantaneous, or it can take 5 minutes.
And this is the same. I've had the same experience where I get in the car and I turn the car on and it pairs right away, or it messes around and does something else for a couple minutes, and all of a sudden, boop, CarPlay pops up. And
Seems like it's working normally to me.
Yeah. Well, never having had wireless CarPlay, I don't know, but it's great.
Yeah, it's epic.
And it has my car has 2 USB ports, so when I'm driving a longer drive, obviously I don't want to kill my phone, so I'll plug it into CarPlay for like my commute or whatever. But if it's just like, hey, I'm going to hop in the car and go to the store, the fact I don't have to mess around with plugging anything in, I can just toss it in the wireless charging bin and it goes. Awesome.
By the way, a weird quirk about my car. My phone, the 13S
Mini,
13 Mini, too small.
Too small. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Too small for the charging port.
My work phone's a Mini, and it doesn't charge in the wireless either. You have
Infuriating.
You can get a literally just a piece of wood. If you get a piece of wood that's the right width, you can put it in the wireless charging thing and then put the phone in next to it, and it can't slide around.
Well, see, but the thing is, mine is scooped on both ends. It's beveled. It's not cut in.
Oh.
So everything you put in there immediately slides out. I did try.
Got it. So because mine is just a square cutout.
Yeah.
And when I had my Mini, you could put a little piece of wood in it, and then put the Mini in next to it, and it would wirelessly charge. It was fine.
This is beveled. It's very stylish.
Very stylish.
Mine is practical.
Mine is very utilitarian and very practical.
It ramps out in all directions. So that's the thing. Even you can get it in there, so it's sitting perfectly. And then it slides out in all the directions and slides around in there. And so it's like, we really are living in the future.
But yes, long story short, wireless CarPlay is real cool. And yes, those adapters you can buy on Amazon do work.
Actually, we'll just talk about this briefly. I don't know if anyone's still listening, but we'll talk about this briefly because it's a car podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Did you see, Tristan, I don't know if they released the white paper yet, but the spec for the next gen of CarPlay?
Yeah, I don't think they've released the white paper yet, but I saw the WWDC announcement for the Apple Car OS or whatever they're going to call it, where like CarPlay runs everything.
I'm intrigued.
I'm worried.
Why?
But I'm also intrigued.
You'd say why you're worried.
It would have to make sure that the native car's interface is bulletproof and CarPlay is just a layer on top of it. Because I don't want CarPlay to interfere with using my car. And seeing how only semi-reliable CarPlay is,
sure,
where like I'll be wired CarPlay, no big deal, and I hit skip on a piece of music and it like the head unit locks up, and when my head unit locks up, my eyesight stops working, my cruise control stops working, everything else. CarPlay has to be a separate solution. Right now, it's a module plugged into the automotive Linux that my machine is, the machine in my head unit is running.
Yeah.
So when CarPlay locks up, it cascades down, and basically my head unit has to reboot, including all of my driver assists and everything else. Because it's all running from the same computer, functionally. It's all just a plug-in.
That's interesting. Now, that's what I'm trying to think this through. Because when my CarPlay fucks up, which is super rare and usually only happens when the
it's
phone
not
gets too
super
hot.
common.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, it's a catastrophe for me. everything stops working.
It doesn't actually. I don't know if it kills the L2 tech on the Hyundai because it's not level 3. It does lane guiding, auto stop.
Lane guiding, auto stop, adaptive cruise.
Not adaptive cruise.
You don't have adaptive
I
cruise?
don't have adaptive
okay.
cruise.
I hate adaptive cruise.
That's okay.
By the way,
it makes me go to sleep. But anyways, I don't think it fucks with the rest of that. If you reset, it probably does if you reset the unit. But because I can disconnect the phone unless it's paired wirelessly.
Yes. In this case, turn off the phone.
Stop the CarPlay issues, and that doesn't screw with anything else for sure. That's interesting. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, my thought is, if I'm remembering correctly from when I read the current gen CarPlay white paper, it actually works in the opposite direction. It's not necessarily that the car in terms of the actual technology deployment, it's like you say, it's a snap-in essentially for the car.
Yep.
But in terms of Apple's white paper, they've written it to be the opposite. The car has to bend to their specifications. They have to it has to work under a certain
It has to meet very narrow specifications from a security and compatibility standpoint.
Yes.
But it's not like the phone is running the car. The car is running itself, and then all that is a was like you're just streaming H.264, 265, and touch events to the screen. So the car is actually processing very little. It's playing a video and it's accepting button and finger presses and it's streaming audio. And that's it.
Right.
And somehow, when that goes down, it will crash the entire head unit.
Yeah, I'll have to test this now. Maybe wait for a really hot day, which is usually when the problems... I mean, this seems kind of irresponsible to how I'm going to destroy my car and then, drive really fast at the back of someone else's car?
And see if it'll automatically...
I don't know.
Throw a child in front of you?
I have one. It's easy.
Oh, no. Not yours.
Someone else's. Yeah, you're right. It's a much better plan.
Exactly.
Much safer. I don't know. I'm super curious now because you have to be right. If I reset the head unit in the car, surely then all of that automation has to stop working, right?
You'd think, unless it's being processed elsewhere. Unless your head unit is your head unit, and there's a separate thing doing all the work for your driver assists.
And I will admit that I also don't know... Subaru is eyesight, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of processing going on there because it's all visual.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Hyundai uses radar.
It makes sense that mine has like an entire computer in the dashboard doing all this work.
Yeah.
And just, hey, let's put the head unit overhead on that, no problem. Instead of making a bunch of small, low-power systems, just put a big, powerful computer in the dashboard.
Yeah, mine must be LiDAR.
Except unless it crashes.
It has to. 'Cause there's no cameras. Yeah, if there were wing cameras, you would be able to access them. So yeah, the Hyundai system must be LiDAR in my car.
Also, Subaru, why can't I access my cameras?
I want to see them!
like I want to. You have a backup camera, and you have a front-facing camera, and you have the 2 binocular eyesight cameras to handle cruise control, braking, all that stuff. You should be black boxing the last 30 seconds of that, and then allowing me to hit save for like a dash camera.
That
like,
is nifty.
let me plug a thumb drive into my USB port so I can record to that thumb drive or whatever.
Does it do that automatically?
I don't know. It doesn't do it where it's user accessible. I don't know if for crash data or whatever if it is. But like, I'd love to be able to get dash cam footage without having to install a dash cam.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
If no one's doing it,
all
they
these
should.
cameras, use them.
Yeah.
We've got 3 front-facing cameras and a rear-facing camera.
That's the other thing I was thinking. Do I get a one of the fancy dash cams with GPS?
Yeah.
And use that for when
you're going to break land speed records or anything?
When my car gets stolen,
when your car gets stolen. Yeah.
I am 100% convinced that I will not be in possession of this car for longer than 14 days.
Only one way to find out.
I'm going.
Should we take bets? Should people go online and we'll put an over/under on the Facebook page? We'll take squares.
But I really do. I mean, I really do think that my car is going to get fucking stolen. I'm going to be so furious when it does too.
Well, at least you're already building yourself up to it.
Yeah, I'm going to be so fucking mad. Anyways. Well, that's the thing. Like, even if I were to feed myself the security cam footage, what am I going to do? Run out and get shot to death? No.
Yeah.
I'm just going to watch them steal my fucking car and be mad.
Do the old retail loss prevention. Oh no, there it goes.
Yeah, basically.
Honestly,
what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Is that the smart move to run out in the... No. Even if it's a child, they will still shoot you dead.
Flashbang them.
Get it... Here's what I'll do.
Bravo 6 going dark.
I'll buy a cheap car, and I'll park it. We got like a little alley space.
Yeah.
And then I'll park my car, kind of facing that way. So when they go out, I'll go full ramming speed, and take them out.
There you go, demo derby style.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Not at all.
Plus, then the car is definitely totaled.
Yeah, you have to replace it instead of fix it, which is faster probably.
Definitely.
Oh, totally faster.
Judging by Jessica's car. When it had to get repaired after the deer strike.
It took
like 2 months to get started fixing it.
That's what I was expecting with mine before.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We've cycled all the way back around.
Yeah,
he's now picked up his car.
We actually came full circle on that.
Start the episode over.
That's kind of nice. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Olympic.
Oh no.
No, it's actually time to get out of here. So before we do that, we'll remind you about the socials. First, you can go look for us on Facebook by looking up Check Engine Podcast. Andrew, where can they find us on the Twitter?
At Check Engine Pod.
And Tristan, Instagram would be?
Also at Check Engine Pod.
So cool. Find us on there. Be sure to like, follow, share, DM, all that kind of stuff. Reach out how and when you can. You can ask us questions to answer on air. You can let us know what you like or dislike about what we've talked about. You can give us ideas for topics that we can bring onto the show here. Any of that kind of stuff. We appreciate it. Thank you in advance. Also, as we roll out of here, thank you for sticking with us today. We appreciate you listening, but we don't want you just to listen. We want to interact with you. Find us on the socials. You can also, on whatever platform you're listening on, leave us a review, hopefully a good one, and or you can hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything, and you'll get notified of any new content that we put out for you. If you're really into what we're doing and would like to support this podcast monetarily, you have 2 options for that. You can go to patreon.com/checkenginepodcast or hit that support button on our homepage at anchor.fm/checkenginepodcast. Where's the money going this week? Every cent pledged goes towards Andrew's car security.
Yeah,
how about that?
Yeah.
My deductible.
Securing, here's a deductible for a lost car claim. And towards making this podcast a better experience for you, the listener. So none of it goes back into our pockets personally. So thank you in advance. Any shout outs before we get out of here?
You know what? Since I was going to do an anti-thanks to the Milwaukee Police Department, and yeah, they do deserve it. But I will actually instead thank my insurance company, which is not a company I've ever heard of, Selective Insurance. We went through like an insurance broker when we got our house and got everything under one umbrella. Called them. They gave me all the standard. Your wait time will be longer than normal due to high call volume. Blah blah blah. Someone picked up immediately. And I just told them my name. They had everything. I didn't need a policy number. Didn't need to know anything. They ran me through the whole scenario. Told me who I'd be working with in case my car did get stolen. Told me my options. Sent in an email. They were just great. So
cool.
I don't know. Yeah, if you have to go through an agent or whatever, but Selective. Yeah, they were great.
Awesome. Tristan?
Nice. Mine is a bit of an in memoriam. We lost my grandfather a couple weeks ago. And although there were no specific, car ties, still worth, mentioning him on the podcast because he was a supporter of everything that we did. I think by the time we were making this podcast, his dementia got to the point where not probably a listener of this podcast itself, but I know he would have been had he been able to, because he was there for, every choir concert, my sister's dance recitals, everything that he could possibly get to, because he wasn't going to a different grandchild's thing that same day. He was very involved, and I know he would have been a supporter of this podcast and probably would have enjoyed it. Had his funeral on Friday. Very, very well run affair. So, rest in peace, Grandpa. But also, thank you to all of the funeral directors, the pastor of Grace United Methodist Church, and everybody involved in making Friday go as smoothly as it could. It was not something that we weren't expecting, but it's always something that manages to sneak up on you and be a bit of a surprise. So thank you for all the help with that, and thank you to my family for bringing up all the memories and the photos and everything else for that event on Friday. And again, rest in peace, Grandpa.
Yeah, sorry, man. Condolences.
Yeah, tough.
Positive note to round off here. I'm going to have two quick shout-outs.
Which is definitely the way to round it out. That's why I tried to go in the middle.
Yeah, there you go. So, should have mentioned this earlier when we were talking about our friendly race teams and their success. Newer friends of ours, Austin Riley and Racing with Autism.
Yes.
In the Radical Cup North America. He got a hat trick. 3 wins at Watkins Glen this weekend in his class. So congrats to Austin Riley and the Racing with Autism group. Again, folks, racingwithautism.com if you want to learn about this kid's story. And then also congratulations to, I guess I'll call her my neighbor, my parents' neighbor, the Kruger family. Their daughter Vivian graduated high school this year, and yesterday was the graduation party. I literally remember when they brought her home from the hospital. I've known her literally her entire life. I remember her standing on stools baking with my mom. I remember drawing chalk art with her in driveways and all that kind of stuff. And here she is going off to college this fall. So congrats, Vivian. We're proud of you and best of luck. And as always, thank you, listeners, for your continued support. We love hearing from you. We love recording this for you, and we cannot wait to speak to you again. Until we do, take care.
record a little fresh stuff. And see what happens.
Fresh stuff.
A little fresh stuff.
Bring the freshness.
A little fresh, eh?
Bring the freshness. Whoa.
That's
like a Subway thing.
That's our new tagline.
Forcible freshness.
Bringing the
Subway.
freshness.
Subway, forced freshness.
You Willy fresh.
Enforced freshness.
This time we're not asking.